Welcome to our webinar on marketing strategy for technology rollouts. Forward Vision is a technology marketing agency, and we have 225 years of experience, mostly coming from our guest speaker, on rolling out technology and marketing strategy. We deliver a full service of marketing strategies and activities and tactics. So we'll get into a little bit more about what this is, and I wanted to introduce our speaker, Philip Sorrells. He's a navigator, connector, and storyteller. He has a proven success record of 10Xers. He has helped the Forward Vision team navigate through our winding road on our business journey, as well as many other companies. He's on our board of directors, as well as our lead strategic marketing consultant, helping to facilitate workshops on subjects much like today. He was an executive leader with CommScope and well known in the wireless industry for his antenna system innovations and pioneering the concept of agile networks. He's an author, speaker on the evolution of wireless networks and 5G, as well as I think you're going to get a glimpse of his next book or article on today's subject. Prior to joining CommScope, Philip was with Texas Instruments for 10 years, has extensive experience in operations and cultural change management. So if you don't know Philip already, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to him on LinkedIn and get connected with his amazing network of people that he's cultivated through the years. Not only will it boost your company profile, but you as well getting connected to him. So without further ado, I want to hand it off to Philip to start talking about his experience in product launches and best practices.
Well, thank you, Kelly. That was a fantastic introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm a little bit blushing. Thank you so much. Well, first, I want to I'll also join Kelly in thanking all of you to take the time to join us in this webinar. I know we're all busy, and I know we all have some Zoom fatigue. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen in. So launching your new great idea is a real rubber meets the road moment. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you my experiences and lessons learned in doing the same thing. I hope you'll find them beneficial. My claim to fame is really pretty simple. Most of you, I'm sure, have a cell phone, and your cell phones are connected to the large antennas that you see on cell towers and buildings all over the world. At one time, about 35 to 40% of all those antennas you would see in nearly any country, anywhere in the world, came from my team. To achieve the level of growth needed, we launched dozens, maybe even hundreds of new products. Some of these were amazing winners, hitting the right combination of being exactly what our customer wanted, when they wanted it, and at a price and availability that made for the perfect combination of value. And we also launched a few that were, well, let's just say they were opportunities to learn. And that's really the essence of what we'll cover today. I've compiled a summary of the traps that lead to poor launches and the best practices that tend to yield great results. These best practices are uniquely integrated into Forward Vision's Start Right, Finish Well launch playbook, the tool that just might give you the competitive edge to be first and best with your newest big idea. So why is launching the new product such a crucial element in your success? Well, the leaders of virtually every company, large or small, are looking at organic growth as a top priority. Organic growth comes from generating new sales from your existing capabilities as opposed to growth from acquisitions. Nearly half of that growth is expected to be derived from the launch of brand new products, with about another 30% coming from iterating and improving existing products. Now that is a huge investment in engineering, in manufacturing and logistics and sales channel, in training, and much, much more. So let me ask you an honest question. Do you believe that you have a strong end-to-end closed loop playbook ready to roll out when you spent thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions to develop your new best idea? If not, you have a huge opportunity to increase sales and profitability, because no sales or profits can be gained on products or solutions you bring to the market that nobody buys. So I believe that having a great product launch playbook can make a huge impact on your company's success. And that success goes way beyond the success or failure of any single product. Once you adopt the new philosophy of start right, finish well, your engineering resources will be more effective and productive. Your early adopters will grow. Your initial sales pipeline will fill faster. Your pricing strategies will be more effective. Your technology turnover will be at or above your industry goals. And last but not least, your market image as an innovator that is agile and quick to market will be enhanced. So in the rest of this presentation, I'm going to share with you three basic things. First, we'll explore 10 traps that I have sometimes quite painfully experienced. These were important lessons that were all discovered more or less the hard way. Then I'll share with you my take on the 10 best practices that seem most likely to yield great results. Last and best of all, I'll give you an overview of the Forward Vision Start Right, Finish Well launch process and playbook. So research indicates that 33 to 48% of all new product launches fail to meet their targeted goals. And in the technology world, that centers to be more around 42%. So to make this simple, I've categorized the reasons into three buckets. First is the market. This is where mistakes start and cascade through everything else you do. In fact, if you get the market elements wrong, nothing else you do has much of a chance of saving your efforts. The product is what you're selling to the market. This is also easy to get wrong, and it's really hard to fix once the cat is out of the bag. The third element is the launch. It's that singular moment where you take the product to the market and you get the one-time chance to make a lasting impression. Imagine getting the market right, getting the product right, and then blowing it with a poorly designed or executed launch. You think that's unthinkable? No, it really does happen all the time. So let's start off with the markets. There are three traps here. The first and worst is having an unclear or even the wrong audience or market you're trying to address. You may think the buyer is in one group, only to find out later that that was wrong and that the target you're attracting is actually an influencer. Then, in way too many cases, insufficient market research is done ahead of plowing into hard design decisions. That is another key trap. It is so easy, especially in technology companies, to fall in love with your product ideas or concepts, trapping you into a design concept that may not really address the target market's biggest pain points or the biggest opportunities. And the last one here is easy to miss. My bet is that if you're planning to launch right now, you probably have not even considered how your new launch will be perceived, not only by the target customer, but by the entire ecosystem that will surround it and either resist it or support it. Now, let's talk about the product. Have you ever seen a product that was just too new or too different? While a highly differentiated product is very desirable, if you have something that is totally out of the box, your launch has to consider a transitional stage of developing early adopters. On the other hand, if you're new launch is just another version of what's already out there, how will you gain attention and attraction? Don't forget, differentiation requires difference. And the third trap is pricing and payback. How we often want to avoid any discussions of pricing and payback. But if you cannot clearly articulate your pricing with confidence, that's a red light. Fuzzy pricing and ROI are often the result of poor development of the ideal customer target and from a lack of clearly defining the customer problem solved and the customer value added. And that ties right back to the market and your voice of customer process. There are really few things worse in the life of a technology company, or really any company for that matter, to launch your new best thing into a wicked mix of quality, reliability, or delivery issues. And it happens, unfortunately, way too often. I call these crisis issues for a reason. They can do irreparable harm to your launch and open the door wide open for your competition to ride in, jump on your idea, and take your share. So now let's take a look at the launch itself. At the top of my list of traps for the launch is a lack of attention in proactively getting all the stakeholders involved, aligned, and on the same page. Have you ever heard your salespeople complain that they are the last to know about the new product, or that they heard about it from seeing it on your website, or even from one of their customers asking about it? Or maybe the head of operations killing a forecast for some component based on prior sales history without knowing that you're launching a big new program and you need to have inventory on the shelf. Those are red flags to watch for. Nothing builds success like success. When you launch, you want to have a fast track to getting sales orders booked. But did you deliberately work on pre-launch demand generation to seed your pipeline? Or are you just hoping that once you get it out, somebody will buy? And third, having a weak messaging happens way too often when technology companies are too focused on the product and not focused nearly enough on customer pain points and problems. You need content that is useful in raising awareness for the need of your product, differentiating your product from other solutions, and helping your client understand exactly how to order it and how to use it. A one-size-fits-all pitch deck is really not going to drive a growing funnel. Yet, way too often, it's probably about all you have. So that is 10 traps. In my view, these are the top 10. Certainly, they're the ones that have trapped me. But there's others lurking out there as well. So proceed with caution. So let's take a look now at 10 best practices. In this section, I'll provide a very high-level description of the best practices. Each of these could take days or weeks or even longer to get into the details, especially with me talking about them. But for now, we'll talk to the broad categories. I'm sure by now your eyes have looked at the 19% and 15% numbers. Hey, who wouldn't like to get that kind of improvement? Where did that come from? That data came from Serious Decisions in an extensive research program conducted by them. Their research concluded that companies that plan and execute end-to-end launch strategies have 19% faster revenue growth and 15% higher profitability than those that do not. So the drivers behind those financial results are pretty straightforward. Being first to market earns you a higher market share, certainly with early adopters. First to market also means the opportunity to hold your pricing strategy and hold your pricing higher. And of course, having a fully integrated launch process that focuses on starting right helps you avoid costly mistakes, costly do-overs, start overs with multiple design iterations, and really all the things that cause big, big budget overruns. So let's get into those 10. The first key best practice is having a mature and effective new product development and introduction process. This is often called a stage gate process, where best practice companies divide the workflow into logical, iterative processes. The key at each step in your process concludes with a defined set of deliverables and a disciplined process for making a go or no-go decision. The best of the best processes are multifunctional and pull in key resources appropriate for each decision to be made at that particular stage. Now, the lowest risk product development are done side by side with an existing customer. You get it straight from the customer, exactly what they want, and you have a built-in way of validating requirements. But on the other hand, the highest reward new products are the ones where your team is so deeply involved in the market you serve that you're able to anticipate a future problem that your customers may not even be aware they have now or will have in the future. These are a lot higher in risk, but they are the big swings that can radically change your place in the market. In both cases, having a deep strategy and a process for gathering and understanding the voice of customer is crucial. In my years of doing this, I never spent too much time in the field seeing products used, seeing them installed, seeing how they're maintained, how they're changed, how they're updated, and even how they're specified. If you are spending most of your time in product road mapping and design in conference rooms with your own people, that's a red light. Now, the biggest flop in my career was not fully understanding how a very cool concept we had developed would be adopted by the ecosystem surrounding it. Our direct customers loved the idea. Our team could do the design, but when we tried to take it to the market, too many other players in the ecosystem stood in the way. And that was a really hard lesson. Fortunately, there is a better way. Write this down. Check out this book, The Wide Lens by Rod Adner. He captures very well this situation and lays out a clear methodology that can be adopted directly into your stage gate and voice of customer process. I really highly recommend this. So now let's take a look at your product. Well, the first key best practice is establishing a requirements waterfall. This is often called by other names, but no matter what you call it, it's establishing product requirements based on a hierarchy of critical must-haves all the way down to optional features. So why is that the first key best practice? Because it's tied back directly to the level of proficiency with which you have done your voice of customer validation in the market. Don't forget, 90% of the pricing leverage and product cost are defined right here in this stage. If you get this wrong, it is very hard to reverse. So what is a clear value edge? Well, a value edge is comprised of some component of your product or service that, one, a customer cares deeply about, two, it's really unique to you, and three, is something you can prove with real tangible proof points. So you can have a super cool feature in your product that you and only you can do, but does it solve a real urgent problem for your client? Having a real value edge is a gold mine. Not having one is not necessarily a showstopper. It just means you're going to have a much more challenging launch. It's really difficult, especially in the technology world, to have a new product that truly stands alone. So it's very important in your requirements waterfall to include a deep dive into upward and downward compatibility. Now, I've seen entire new product lines collapse when they get to market and then have to acknowledge that using them forces a very expensive rip and replace out of some other part of their customer's business. If you do that, your ROI has to be strong enough to pay for it. And that's not easy. So let's talk about the launch now. I believe that the unhidden treasure of a great marketing launch is the ability to drive alignment through the organization. Deep alignment starts with having a carefully designed launch team, bringing in key stakeholders, bringing in the right subject matter experts, getting your voice of customer advocates involved, getting the right marketing professionals and sales and customer people involved. It means setting up a real team, not a single person that really does all the work with a few other people occasionally checking in. The launch team should have adequate resources and be driven by clear milestones and clear metrics. And where it's appropriate, they should be guided by an executive steering process of some type, especially in larger organizations. A key deliverable of a great launch is a clear, understandable sales playbook. In fact, that is so important. I'm going to not cover that now, but we'll cover it later on in the presentation. The third key element is having a high impact content strategy that moves your target prospects from awareness to adoption. Sounds easy, and sometimes it can be, if you start with the right process for creating your content. Our experience is that content should be thought of also as a hierarchy of needs, starting with key thought leadership content, followed by capability type content, and last by content that covers what I call the 4 W's and 1 H. 4 W's and 1 H. What it is, what it does, what that means for the customer, why your company is the best choice, and how to order it. Getting the right content strategy goes all the way back to the voice of customer process. It's just as important in designing your content plan as it is in designing the product itself. So, okay, now we've covered 10 traps and 10 best practices. And I really sincerely hope that these were helpful and useful for you. Now I'd like to share with you the Ford Vision, Start Right, Finish Well launch process. Start Right, Finish Well is based on a very simple idea. And that idea is that the time we spend gaining profound knowledge about our customers or the market needs is the single most important step towards success. It's not about creating a complicated plan with a lot of to-do lists. That's busy work. We don't have time for busy work. Our approach is simple. We help you align on your key goals, visualize clearly the end states, and then guide you through the entire ecosystem of the market you serve. And then, and only then, into the marketing and sales environments where we have the expertise. A Ford Vision launch tries 3 key outcomes. First, we drive toward deep alignment. This includes alignment and agreement on scope of work, goals, measurements, work assignments, management reporting, and timetables. Then we work with you to create messaging strategies that align to your buyer needs and problems, aligns to a describable buying journey, profoundly demonstrates unique value propositions, provides your buyers needs for information, and is delivered in a variety of ways that are best suited for your prospects. We believe in and promote what we call a single source of truth philosophy that drives all your content to your website, converting your website from kind of a stagnant thing to a crucial part of your lead generation process, and keeping your internal people and channel partners connected and informed all the time. Finally, we ignite your launch with a comprehensive marketing execution strategy, supported by internal communications calendars, assets for the launch, the sales playbook, and a kickoff that tells the world that something new and exciting is happening from your company. So how do we get there? Well, first off, we do recognize that every launch is unique. And even though we have a well-proven process and playbook ourselves, we work carefully and closely with you to really understand your situations and your needs. We start off with a discovery conversation. It's about an hour session. We will ask some critical questions about what you're doing, what the status is of your launch, when you plan to launch, how, what your market is, those kind of things. We use this information for us to scope out a launch workshop. The launch workshop is really the crucial element for starting right. These can range from as little as 6 hours to sometimes as much as 32, and sometimes even more. In these workshops, we develop the overall launch goals, the key strategies, the tactics, the metrics. We get in and map out your customer and market targets. We create messaging plans that address your key pain points. And we use this time to develop strategic and tactical messaging and really challenge you and your team to refine your value wedge. Whether we do this face-to-face or virtually, the impact is huge. In fact, I have conducted many launch workshops that have created the effect of deciding, hey, it's too early to launch. We discovered maybe an inadequate level of market validation, or maybe the voice of customer information collection was insufficient, or maybe there hadn't really been enough design validation to assure that we don't have a crisis moment. So trust me, finding that out sooner is much better than getting your launch out there that doesn't deliver results. So once the launch workshop is complete, we compile for you a launch plan, your messaging platform, and we provide you with a statement of work to actually implement and create your launch execution. So our launch execution is built into 3 stages with the core idea of building a fully integrated campaign. At pre-launch, we focus on activities and assets that we need to have in place before the go live day. This includes thought leadership content that might go out in blogs or papers or some other baseline contents, presentations, new website landing pages, work on SEO optimization, and develop your sales playbook. This is the time as well for training your sellers and your channel partners. And it may even be the right time to do some probing and testing back into your voice of customer validation about your messaging. So launch day is when you reveal to the broad market that something new is happening. On launch day, we go live with your new website content, maybe new web banners, PR announcements sometimes, personal communications to your existing clients, social media out to your prospects. We can help you create really high profile events like an Apple lock reveal, or maybe more subtle events if that's better for your overall strategy or your position in the market. The point is, on launch day, we want your team, your company, your clients, and maybe even your competitors to set up and take notice that something new and exciting is happening in your company. So way too many launches fizzle after the sizzle of the big launch. Successful, highly integrated launches are reinforced continually post-launch. Remember, the majority of your real demand generation engine kicks in after launch day. Our post-launch day activities include inbound and outbound campaigns, webinars, trade show events, media interviews, creating success stories, documenting case studies, and much, much more. So what about that sales playbook? The sales playbook is really a first and key step towards sales alignment. In great launches, your customer-facing sellers will have participated in some degree in the build and launch plan. but chances are the participants will only be a representative fraction of your entire selling team. And don't forget that your selling team includes your channel partners. Depending on the size of your organization, we will build with you a sales playbook aimed at validating the messaging resonates from their perspective, informs them of key milestones, connects them with any new selling programs that may be appropriate, establishes new metrics that may be part of the launch, and provides them ahead of the launch with the content they need to represent you well in the market. So again, I'd really like to thank you for attending our workshop today. We hope that the information we provided has been useful and helpful as you think through how to bring your new idea to reality. Think about the 10 traps. Realistically, chances are good that one or more of them may be at play in your launch right now. And how can you adopt maybe one or maybe more of the best practices today? Well, we would love to be part of that journey. We start off with a simple conversation to baseline what your current state is, and then and to really have a deeper understanding of your goals and timeline. And you know, since this is our launch of this process, we're inviting you, hopefully our early adopters, to take advantage of a significant pricing event if we can get started this year. So great launches are an adventure, and we really sincerely wish you the very best as you start right and finish well. Now, we have a few minutes to take some questions. Kelly, do we have any questions out there? Kelly?
Sorry, I was muted. I just got a question to ask whether this is just for products or what about software or services?
Yeah, fantastic question. What we've done with this process is developed a platform that can be used for hard products, physical products. It can be used for systems. It can be used for software. And you know what? It can also be used if you, a lot of times as a product manager, I would think about launching an existing product into a new market. So that could be another way to use this kind of launch process. You have an existing product, but let's say maybe you haven't done very well in Europe, or maybe you haven't done very well in Canada or some other market that you want to attack. Having a well thought out launch process of taking an existing product into a brand new market is also an extremely valuable playbook to have.
All right, someone has a question about the term clear value wedge. Could you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Sure, absolutely. So again, this is a fairly simple concept, but it's crucially important. Remember, we live in a world where we have competition, and the key idea of a value wedge is to be able to separate yourself out from your competition. It's a way of thinking about differentiation. But what we've tried to do is adopt an approach where we strive to identify just 3 critical things that's really unique to us. And typically, I would ask if you have, for example, intellectual property, or do you have a trademark process or a copywritten process that's really unique to you as a company, and it's something that your customers care about a lot, and not just care about it a lot, but care about it urgently enough to take action now. That's another key thing. And then the third component is something you can prove. And a lot of people will make statements about, oh, we have the best of this or the best of this or whatever, and don't really think through, well, how are they going to provide that proof point? Is it measurable? Are there case studies that prove it? Do you have documentation that back up? So those are the 3 components. And those can be really tough. I mean, I've experienced situations where, you know, you sit back and go, well, I'm not really sure I can define a crystal clear value edge. And that's not necessarily a showstopper. It makes it a more challenging launch, but it can still be done. We just have to turn other gauges to achieve the goals.
All right, and another follow-up is, what are the deliverables for the workshop, and can you help implement them?
Sure. There's the workshop deliverables are first your strategic and tactical positioning. So strategic positioning is aspirational. We want to be seen as the leaders of blah, 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 whatever that may be, but it's very high level. And it more or less defines the personality of your organization, how you want to be perceived in the market. Your tactical positioning are the things that you believe you do better than your competition. Deliver faster, more easy to work with, more tactical. So we help you refine that. We take you through a process that we call message mapping, where we understand your buyer journey. We understand who the buying personas are that you're trying to persuade. We deep dive into the key problems, the business problems that they have. We map your products and your solutions to those key problems. And then we identify what content is the right content to carry that message out to the buyers. And that could be video, it could be papers, it could be blogs. There's a number of things that it could be. But anyway, that all gets mapped out, and that becomes something you get from the workshop. You also get what we call the plan on a page. And what we try to do is think about planning very simplistic. We try to keep it high level without a whole lot of detail, because there's a concept called lean that we try to follow, where we try to establish, move, measure, and try to keep momentum going. But we do deliver to you an overall plan that describes how the launch could be carried forward. And at the end of that, of course, we will do a statement of work and a proposal for carrying out all the stages that we identified in the plan.
Very good. And I would echo that one of the things that I really like about the way you execute this is it's simple. It's on a page. So all those deliverables you talked about are just one page to execute from, and not, like you said, a 30-page strategy document that no one's going to look at. Well, great. I think one last question is, you talked about the ecosystem. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is? And I think you mentioned something about why it could be a trap.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So especially in the technology world, the ecosystems can become very complex, but typically it's you, the manufacturer or the provider, the end user. There may be consultants that are out there that are talking about the various ways that technology can be used in your space. It could be design houses that perhaps do specific pieces of design work. It could be installers or integrators or distributors or other channel partners that are part of the entire ecosystem. So it's really the entire system that makes up the environment that your product has to live in. And again, it could be people who have a direct benefit from you launching a new product. For example, if you launch a new product that in particular makes installing a system easier, then the installation community could be early adopters. They could also be resistors. And it's important for you to really realistically look at all the players in the ecosystem and what their reaction to what you're bringing out new will be. Will they be advocates or resistors? If they're advocates, can you leverage that? If they're resistors, can you minimize that? And ultimately, that helps you really think through how to refine what's called a minimally viable product to take to the market. So that's hopefully a useful description of the ecosystem.
I think so. Well, great. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar. And like I said, this is a great time while we're kind of thinking about what to do for the next year, and maybe you have some products or services or even some new markets that you're looking into. We would be happy to just talk through a little bit more about what this could do for you. So please reach out to us and let's start getting that conversation going. Thank you.